This has obviously been a very strange election year, both candidates unable to campaign in the traditional sense. And so these conventions, I think, have taken on outsized importance. They're really one of the few chances that the candidates are going to have to send their message to voters outside of the debates, which are the other big moment, really trying to articulate a message for themselves, for their candidacy, for their party.
I accept this nomination for President of the United States of America.
A big part of the message that the Democrats wanted to send with this convention was the idea of unity, the idea of a big tent, the idea that a lot of people from different perspectives can all come together in support of Joe Biden. Sending this message that, we may not agree on a lot of things when it comes to policy, but we can all agree to support Joe Biden, trying to send the message, particularly to independent voters and even some Republicans, that this is a Democrat that you can consider acceptable, even if you don't necessarily support all of his policies. And I think for a lot of observers, it was somewhat reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's message 4 years ago, Stronger Together. The bet that the Biden campaign seems to be making is that it's okay to deliver fundamentally the same message as Hillary Clinton, as long as you have a different messenger and as long as you have 3.5 years of Trump in the White House, that has changed people's perspectives on the need for that kind of unifying leader.
And he listens. He will tell the truth and trust science. He will make smart plans and manage a good team. And he will govern as someone who's lived a life that the rest of us can recognize.
Welcome to the fourth night of the 2020 Democratic National Convention.
The Democrats had been planning for several months to have this convention be all virtual, which is obviously a huge technical challenge. But it seemed to go off pretty seamlessly. I think, there was a nice juxtaposition of planned videos with live speeches. And then I think a lot of people were quite charmed by the 50-state roll call, which in a normal convention is just different groups of delegates on the convention floor yelling out their votes. But this time, since everybody is actually back home, it turned into an opportunity to really showcase the diversity of the party coalition. Another speech that struck a lot of people as quite powerful was former President Obama, who gave a very different kind of speech than a lot of the others. And there was an element of fear in his voice as he described the damage that he believes that the Trump administration is doing to American democracy, and really describing this not just as a normal election, but as a make or break moment for our entire system of government. It's unusual for a former president to speak so disparagingly about his successor.
For close to 4 years now, he has shown no interest in putting in the work. No interest in finding common ground. No interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends.
In his own speech, Joe Biden's message was quite stark.
Ella Baker, a giant of the civil rights movement, left us with this wisdom: give people light, and they will find the way. Give people light. Those are words for our time.
Joe Biden's challenge was to, on the one hand, lay out in a very definitive way all of the problems that we face, and then to try to pivot to hope, to try to convince people that it's possible that things could be better, that there can be better days ahead. It was a quite short speech, but it was very well focused, and at the end, that was the message Joe Biden hoped to deliver.
Please join me in welcoming the President of the United States of America and our nominee, Donald J. Trump.
One thing that the Republicans wanted to do with their virtual convention was showcase the president's time in office, but also President Trump's power as the president. The Republicans, for their convention, wanted to have as many events that seemed as live as possible. On the first day, on Monday, President Trump flew to Charlotte, North Carolina, and he spoke to a packed room of 336 Republican delegates who just formally made him their nominee. He gave a 53-minute speech that laid out what he wanted to do in his second term, which basically focused on him saying that he built the economy once and he can do it again. he also spent a lot of time questioning the outcome of the November vote.
Because bad things happened last time with the spying on our campaign, and that goes to Biden and that goes to Obama. And we have to be very, very careful. Have to be very, very careful. And this time they're trying to do it with the whole post office scam. They'll blame it on the post office. You could see them setting it up.
Several vignettes during the week showed the president performing official duties. For example, he issued a pardon to a convicted bank robber who had started a nonprofit to help prisoners. Traditionally, presidents have tried to separate their political acts from their official acts of office and not mix the two. And so this was a new moment in recent American history. The Republicans whipsawed back and forth between a rosy view of President Trump and what he's accomplished in office, testimonials from people who know Trump talking about calls that they got from him that showed moments of empathy. And then that contrasted with fiery speeches that depicted the current state of the United States and America's cities as dystopian and dysfunctional places.
They want to steal your liberty, your freedom. They want to control what you see and think and believe so that they can control how you live.
One other notable moment was when Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, came out and gave a speech that described her personal struggle with a genetic predisposition for breast cancer.
During one of my most difficult times, I expected to have the support of my family, but I had more support than I knew. As I came out of anesthesia, one of the first calls I received was from Ivanka Trump. As I recovered, my phone rang again. It was President Trump calling to check on me. I was blown away.
This was part of that larger effort that the Republicans launched to show Trump as a leader who has promoted and empowered women that he works with. President Trump's speech on his final night of the convention was unusual and historic in a number of ways. One, he did it on the south lawn of the White House with the south columns of the south portico of the White House as his backdrop. Presidents for decades have tried to separate their official duties in the White House from their political actions. And here was the president not seeing any distinction and lighting the two in the physical space of the South Lawn.
We have spent the last 4 years reversing the damage Joe Biden inflicted over the last 47 years. Biden's record is a shameful roll call of the most catastrophic betrayals and blunders in our lifetime. He has spent his entire career on the wrong side of history.
In many ways, it was a conventional speech. President Trump largely stuck to the teleprompter, which is unusual for him. He depicted a Joe Biden presidency as a time of lawlessness, of socialism, of the American people being beholden to thought control. Past presidents, including Nixon and Clinton and others, have tried to obscure when they use the office for political purposes. President Trump does all of that out in the open. That may be Trump's political innovation.